everybody, and welcome to today's video. Today we are covering Algeria, or more precisely known as the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. Well, Algeria is what is known as a unitary semi-presidential republic. What that means exactly is that there is a dual executive type of system where there is both a president and a prime minister who have shared powers, and they both have to sign off on a law if they want to get it through. The head of state of Algeria is the current president. I've got my notes, it's all written down. The current president is Abdelaziz Bouteflika. Bouteflika was first elected in 1999, and he has reigned as president of the republic since then. Last time in 2014, when I was up for election, he got 82% of the vote. Then you can ask yourselves, was this fraud, or was he just very popular? Of what I've read online, it is a mix of the two. In his time, he has had 8 prime ministers. Prime minister is elected by popular vote, and he is elected for a 5-year term. I could not really find out if it was elected by a 2-round system, or if he's just elected by simple plurality. However, in every election in Algerian history, the winning candidate has got more than 50% of the vote, so this does not seem to actually be this much of an issue. As in many systems where they have a president, especially in republics, the president has some powers. The president is the supreme commander of Algerian military. He presides over meetings of the Council of Ministers. He appoints the Prime Minister, can send all laws to referendum if he believes that's necessary, and has a wide variety of appointment powers. The Prime Minister of Algeria is Ahmed Ouattara. I probably did say that wrong. He is from the National Radical Democracy Party, and he has been in office since August 2017. This is his 4th time as Prime Minister, with the other times being from 2008 to 12, 2003 to 6, and 1995 to 98. So he is a quite experienced politician. The Prime Minister is appointed by the President, approved by Parliament, and he leads all meetings of government, and he also appoints the ministers. Now, let's take a look at the legislature of Algeria. Algeria has a bicameral system of parliament, where of course they have 2 houses, and the constitution says about the parliament, I will now read. The legislative power is exercised by a parliament composed of 2 chambers, the National People's Assembly and the Council of the Nation. The parliament elaborates and votes sovereignly, so nothing can breach on parliament. The lower house of parliament is the People's National Assembly. It has 462 members who are elected for 5-year terms. They are elected by party list proportional representation in 48 multi-member constituencies, which are based on the 48 walis, which is the counties or states of Algeria. The government must hold approval of its policies in the National Assembly of the people, so they essentially elect the Prime Minister, or if the Prime Minister does not have approval of the Parliament, of course, he can't sit. The upper house is the Council of the Nation. It is, of course, a smaller body with only 144 members. These are elected to 6-year terms, with one half being elected every 3 years. They are indirectly elected, so they're not directly elected by the people. 2/3 are elected by local governorates, with 2 per wali, county or state, whatever you want to call them, and the last 1/3 is appointed by the president. About these appointments, the constitution says, the president will appoint among abilities and national competencies in the scientific, cultural, professional, economic and social fields. But I could imagine that it's probably just people who agree with him, and that's his right to do so. Powers of the parliament are what you're expecting, because they have to ratify all laws, the budget, and so on. But what is actually very interesting is that for something to be ratified, of course, it needs half of the lower house, but it needs 3/4 of the council, the upper house. However, with the current composition of the Council of Nations, and with the fact that the president can appoint 1/3 of members, the government will, for most instances, have a majority in the council. So it is a bit like a rubber stamp, but it's still an institution which is important to keeping the government in check. Now we're going to take a look at some of the parties which make up Algerian politics. The largest party, and also the party of the president, is the National Liberation Front. They got 164 members of parliament in the last election and 26% of the vote. They are, of course, led by the current president, Bouteflika, and they are a social democratic, socialist, Arab/Algerian nationalist party. They are a member of the Socialist International on the international stage, of course. The second largest party, which is the other government coalition party, is the National Rally for Democracy. In the last election, they got 100 MPs with 15% of the vote. They are led by the current PM, Ouattara. They are an economically liberal party, but they are also Islamic liberal. So their social policies are not as liberal as other liberal parties around the world. Also, because of this, they are a member of the centrist Democratic International compared to the International Liberal Party. The third largest party in the Algerian parliament is the Movement for Society and Peace. They are the largest opposition party. They have 33 MPs and got 6% of the vote in the large party. Their leader is, let's see if I can say this correctly, Abderrazak Makri. They are a right-wing Sunni Islamic party who are a member of the Islamic Brotherhood. These are, of course, only three parties. They have 297 MPs, which is 64% of the MPs, with 47% of the vote. However, there are a bunch of smaller parties which are also represented in Algerian parliament. These parties I will now list for you. We have the Rally for Hope of Algeria. We have the Future Front. We have the Algerian Popular Movement. We have the Hennada FJD Party. We have the Workers' Party. We have the Socialist Forces Front. We have the National Republican Alliance. We have the Freedom and Justice Party. We have the New Dawn Party. We have the Dignity Party. We have the Movement for National Reform Party. We have the Al-Faf Party. We have the Rally for Culture and Democracy. We have the National Front for Justice. We have the Party of Youth. We have the Movement for National Understanding. We have the New Algeria Front. We have the AHD 54 Party. We have the Republican Patriotic Rally. We have the El Infitaf Movement. We have the National Struggle Movement. We have the Union of National Democratic and Social Forces. We have the National Front for Freedom. We have the Free Democratic Front. We have the National Rally for Solidarity and Development. We have the Party of Algerian Renewal. We have the National Assembly Union. We have the National Union for Development. We have the National Movement of Algerian Workers. And we have the National Movement of Free Citizens. And last but not least, we have the Equity and Proclamation Party. And the rest of parties got 13% of the votes. So that's other parties who are not in parliament. That was quite a few parties. All of these parties got either 4% of the vote or less in the last election. Now on to the judiciary. There's not much to say about the Algerian judiciary. It is quite similar to what you expect from other countries. Judges are appointed by the president and approved by parliament. However, as Algeria is an Islamic nation, as Islam is its official religion, its courts are based on the principles of Sunni Islam, Sharia law. Now on to its international relations. Of course, Algeria doesn't do politics with itself only, so who does it do with? I am going to make a change to this bit of the episode. From now on, I will only be talking about the interesting or different international organizations which a country is a member of. So I won't list all of them. Of course, most countries are a member of the World Trade Organization, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, Interpol, and so on. So I will not be listing those. Of course, I'll be saying if they're not members. So if a country is not a member of Interpol, I will be telling you it. Algeria is a member of the African Union, the OSCE, OPEC, and the Organization for Islamic Conference. That's the four things that they're a member of, which are, special. It's very interesting to me that they are actually a member of the OSCE, which is the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Though they are an African country, I think they are only on observer member status, but that is quite interesting in my idea. Of course, actually very interesting, they are not a full member of the WTO, they're only which is the World Trade Organization, they are only a observer member. However, their largest trade partners on the export side are Europe. So 50 to 60% of their trade goes to Europe, export-wise, with Italy and Spain being the largest. Their largest export good, which is about 94 to 5%, is fossil fuels, shale gas, petroleum gas, and refined and unrefined petroleum. Half of their imports come from Europe. However, their biggest nations which they import from is France with 10% and China at 18% of all their imports. This gives them a negative trade balance of about 54 billion US dollars. Their best friends, one could say, is Africa. They're the African Union, so they have good relationship with Africa. So they also have good relations with the Maghreb countries. They also still have good relations with France, the former colonial power, with France being one of their biggest trading and aid partners. However, one could say their best friend is probably Egypt, as they are two Arab countries and they share a common story with both being occupied by foreign enemies, and they generally get quite a bit along. Today's fun fact is that the probably most famous person from Algeria is Saint Augustine of Hippo. Yes, there's a saint from Hippo. He was a 4th century theologian, so quite early on in the history of Christianity. I just find it funny that his name is Hippo. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like. If you have anything to say to me or I forgot anything, please comment. And if you want to keep up on future videos from me, please subscribe. And guys, I'll see you next week where we will be covering Andorra, which is in fact our first non-republic. Guys, see ya.